Hello, hello, hello. This is Chrisia from Lightning English, and I'm here with another lightning lesson for you. Today is going to be a little bit different because I'm sharing a part of what I do in my 2-day business English workshop, and I've got some coming up. So I wanted to share with you some common mistakes in business English. So, common business English mistakes. So, I had some last minute technical difficulties as I came in. I had the presentation all set up, and yeah, things don't always go to plan. So I'm going to just do my best here. And if you have any comments or questions as we go, then please go ahead and just put them in the comments below. Some of you are joining from YouTube. Some are here from Facebook. You may be watching the recording later from Instagram Live or, IGTV. Doesn't matter. Welcome. I'm here with a lightning lesson as I try to do every single week. I'm going for Thursdays at 11 Denmark time, but you can always watch the recordings afterwards in my YouTube channel. That's the Lightning English YouTube channel. They also are on my business page at Lightning English on Facebook and in the Lightning Practice Facebook group. So let's get going and welcome. If you are watching live or if you're watching the recording, go ahead and write in the comments. Those of you who are here live, I can see your comments as we go. And if you have questions, I'll definitely answer them for you at the end. So I want to share with you some common business English mistakes. I think all of us know that we make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. And even I make mistakes. I'm a teacher. I teach English as a second language. And I notice as I transcribe or as I do the transcription for my lightning lessons, I can see the little grammar mistakes that I make here and there. That's a part of communication. That's a part of language. We all make mistakes. And so the first thing I want you to be aware of is that, look, you're making mistakes and it's going to happen. In fact, everybody makes mistakes all the time. So do not let your mistakes stop you from using your English, okay? Because your mistakes are just part of the whole process. So with that in mind, I want you to remember that because it's really, really important. But with that in mind, I'm going to share with you some common business English mistakes. And these are things that people often overlook. And because they're common mistakes, it's not only that a lot of people make these mistakes, but also people make the mistake again and again and again. So if you can kind of tidy up some of these, you'll be fixing a lot of the things that you're doing wrong in your business English. I'm going to share 3 of them with you now, but this is actually part of a bigger workshop that I do as part of my 2-day business English workshop. I can tell you a little bit about that at the end. So these are 3 of the most common business English mistakes. And here we go. Let's see if I can make this all work together. I had my setup a little bit different before, and then at the last minute, I couldn't get my software to work. So we'll try and make this work like this. I'm on the side instead of on top of the presentation. And so here is mistake number 1. People say things like, I'm working in Acme Inc. Okay. And so often when I show my students this, they say, oh yeah, I can see the mistake. The problem here is that you are using the word in. And that's one of the problems. So this word in and this mistake with prepositions is very common. People often have problems with prepositions, these little words in, at, to, for. All of these words can be very confusing. You can't just translate them from your language to English, so it's easy to make that mistake. So when we're talking about a company, when we say in a company, then we're talking about in the building, okay? When we want to talk about the company that employs us, then we would use the word for. Okay, so this is actually the correct preposition in this sentence. You work for a company. That tells me that you're on the payroll. This is the company that hires you. But when you look at this sentence now, I'm working for Acme Inc., many people think, okay, that's good. That's the sentence I'm using. That's how I'm introducing myself to this person that's standing here, or that's what I'm going to write on my email or whatever. But that is not the big mistake in that sentence. If you say in as opposed to for, that's quite easy to figure out that you've made a mistake, no problem. However, the big mistake in this sentence is where you use I am working. Now, this is one of, I would say, actually, the most common mistake that I see in my intermediate, upper intermediate, and advanced level business English students. This I am doing something, especially for Danish people, this is really challenging because you don't use this structure in Danish. You would say, I'm sitting and doing something or whatever. Don't worry about the Danish. But the key here is that when you say, I am doing something in English, then you're talking about what's going on right now at the moment. The focus is on here and now and not on the big picture. You focus people on this, and it makes it sound temporary. So when you say, I'm working for Acme Inc., it sounds like for now, this week, today, this month. But it sounds like that's not going to be ongoing. Maybe you've already applied for other jobs elsewhere. Maybe you want to be headhunted by the person you're talking to. So you don't want to make this mistake if you don't actually mean it. If this is not a temporary thing for you, if this is your job and you're happy with it, then you don't say, I am doing it. And it's the same for the things that you do in your job. I've had students who say, oh yeah, I asked them to introduce themselves and they're like, yeah, I'm working for this company. I'm managing a group of people. I am doing the accounts or whatever. So all of these things make it sound like right now. And the more you say in that kind of list of things that you do for work, if you say, I am doing it, it makes you sound more and more busy. So if you're introducing yourself to a client and you're like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that, they're going to say, oh, that person's really busy. I'm not going to work with her. I can't work with her. She doesn't have time for me because she's doing all of these things. Because within the grammar of saying, I am doing this, in brackets, you're thinking right now. And if you don't mean that, then that is a big mistake to make in your business English. And so how do you say it when you want to say that this is what you do? You say, I work for this company. When you're talking about what you do in your typical business day, you say, I do the accounts. I manage a team of 15 people. I manage, not I'm managing. I'm managing sounds temporary. Maybe the manager's away, so you're managing this team just for this week or this month. But when you say, I manage a team of 15 people, you sound secure. It sounds like that's your job. That's what you do. That's what you're good at. And so when you make this mistake, you have the danger of having people believe that you're really busy, but not necessarily competent. And that is a big mistake. I'm sure you'll agree. So the first mistake is when you say, I'm doing something instead of I do something. Be aware of this mistake. Don't stress about it. Go back in your last few emails where you've introduced yourself to clients or to colleagues and see if you have made this mistake. If you're keeping a journal, go back in your journal to where you talk about what you do at work, and see if you made this mistake. Correct it, be aware of it, see how often you make this mistake. And if it's often, then start focusing on it. So when you write your email, go back and check, did I say I am doing it? If I said I am doing it, is that what I actually meant? Okay, so that is mistake number one. Using I am doing something instead of I do something. It seems very slight. Your grammar check is not going to pick it up. Spell check obviously is not going to pick it up. So this is something you just need to know so that you can fix it yourself. The next mistake number two, is that a lot of people, especially in the business situations, have problems with abbreviations in English. Obviously, your abbreviations in your language are going to be different from the ones that we use in English. So you need to kind of be aware of the common abbreviations, not only how to write them, but how to say them. When you're reading something, maybe you're reading something from a presentation or a report, what does that actually sound like when you say it? What should it sound like? And so the first biggest abbreviation problem that I see is that people have problems with the AM and PM. Most English speaking countries don't use the 24-hour clock on a regular basis. So they'll have a meeting at 3 p.m., for example. Not a problem because you're obviously not going to have a meeting at 3 in the morning. So when someone says 3 p.m., you know that this is in the afternoon. But the problem comes when you're having something happen at 7 or 8. Is that 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., 8 a.m. or 8 p.m.? So the person will write 8 a.m. Okay. The problem with that is if you don't know AM and PM, you may show up for an evening meeting and you miss the breakfast meeting. So the way that I always teach my students to remember it is A comes before P. Yeah, in the alphabet, A comes before P. A is first. AM is before PM. I know people have little things like after midnight and past midday. That doesn't really help you because you could just as easily say after midday and past midnight and then have it exactly the wrong way around. If you remember that A comes before P, then you'll always remember AM and PM. AM comes first in the day and then there's PM. Okay. And if it's something that's happening at 12 o'clock, I suggest you use the word noon, 12 noon or 12 midnight. Don't start using 12 a.m. and 12 p.m. because that can be ambiguous and confusing. So that's one of the abbreviations that causes problems. Another one is EG. This stands for example. I know it's not, it stands for the Latin for example, but we write EG. We don't say EG when we're talking. We say, for example, okay? I know some of my Danish students write FX because that's what you write in Danish. That doesn't work in English. FX stands for effects, like special effects. So that's not going to help you. Use EG when you mean for example, or just write the phrase for example. It doesn't take so much extra time. But you look at it, it says EG, but you read it as for example. Another one that trips people up very often is the abbreviation IE. Now, we don't say IE, we say that is. Okay, this again comes from the Latin, and this is where we brought the Latin into English. And so we say, we might say, you're explaining something, and then you want to say that is, and then you want to tell what it is. So we use IE in that situation. But when we've written IE and we talk about it later, we use the phrase that is. Okay. You all know, etc. Again, we say it and we use the abbreviation ETC. We don't say ETC when we're talking. We say etc. or etc. Or you could say and so forth or and such. There are many other phrases that work just as well, and that's fine. But get used to using the proper abbreviations in English. And as you come across them in your reading, go ahead and look them up. Find out not only what it means, but how do we say that when we're speaking? Because a lot of these abbreviations are used in written English and something completely different is used in spoken English. So it's important to understand the difference. The next mistake, and I will tell you that this is the absolute biggest mistake that my business English students make in English. It is the most common thing. It's the reason why people don't get an expected response to their emails. People lose out on whole negotiations on this, based on this mistake. And so many misunderstandings are caused by this mistake. It is absolutely the most important thing to fix if you are communicating on a regular basis in English in your business life, okay? This is mistake number 3. And the mistake is that you're speaking your own language, but in English. So what do I mean by that? Well, wrong thing. So, what I mean is, we all have a way of communicating with each other that comes from how we're raised and our culture. Our culture is like sunglasses that we have on that filter everything that comes in and everything that comes out when we communicate, and kind of figures out what things actually mean. So I'll give you an example. My Danish students often write emails and will say at the end, get back to me as soon as possible. Now, Danish culture runs on a very linear time thinking. And so people answer their emails in the order in which they came. They answer as quickly as possible. So you come in the morning, you check your emails, you answer them at the same time. That's typical in Danish culture, in Danish business culture, but also in Danish life. Buses run exactly on time. I can look at the bus schedule and it'll tell me that the bus is at 11:19. So I literally have 30 seconds now to get out to the bus stop. Otherwise, I'm going to miss the bus. So this linear time thinking is a characteristic of Danish culture, which is where I am right now. You may be in a culture or you may be communicating with a culture that is more flexible time. That means that instead of focusing on what time it is on the clock, people focus on being flexible and responding to issues as they come up. That is what's valued in the culture. So when you say as soon as possible, it means as soon as you think this is important enough to make it to the top of your to-do list. So for a Danish person, when they say the words as soon as possible, what they're saying is, as soon as you read this email and follow up, answer me. So they're expecting to hear from you right away. But if you are writing to, say, someone in Bermuda, where I come from, it's a little more flexible time. And so as soon as possible means, okay, when you can get to it, because you probably have some more important things on your to-do list. There's a big difference there because the Danish person is sitting waiting for an answer and thinks that you're rude for not answering right away. That's because when a Danish person talks to another Danish person and they say as soon as possible, they know what they mean. When a Danish person talks to an Indian person and says as soon as possible, it actually means two different things. So the mistake, as I said, is speaking your own language, but in English. And what I mean is we're using relative terms that means something different in a different culture. So I spend a lot of time in my business English workshop talking about cultural awareness. And we talk about many things, not just flexible time versus linear time, scheduling, but also trusting. Is it task-based or relationship-based? This will affect how you communicate with people from other cultures. And obviously, if you're speaking to someone in English, then they're not from the same culture as you. Because if they were, they'd be speaking your language. So we have to start kind of adjusting our English. So we're not just saying what we would normally say in our language, but in English, but you're actually saying what you mean. So the solution to this is say what you mean, but you have to start understanding what are some of these cultural differences that can cause misunderstanding. So again, I spend a couple of hours on this in my business English workshop, and I absolutely love the topic. My students are really happy about the changes that happen in their English because of it, and that they're able to really understand where they've had trouble communicating. And that's really important to me. Yeah, so I've mentioned this a couple of times that I am doing this business English workshop. It's a course that I do periodically. And if you're in Denmark, you can join me for it in Aarhus on October 4th and 5th. And I have it also in Copenhagen on November 3rd and 4th. So if you're interested in being in the room with me for 2 days while I share all of my secrets, I'll talk about more common mistakes that people make. I go into grammar, but in a different way from how you've experienced it before. We talk about how to learn new vocabulary, how to tailor your English to your situation, many, many things. My students in the past have been really, really happy with this workshop and what it's done for their English, and I can help you too. So that's the English course that's open. So that means anyone can go in and sign up and join these workshops in Aarhus and Copenhagen. The thing is, if you want to sign up, contact me because I have a special deal for you. If you sign up, if you contact me first and sign up through me, I will give you a free 45-minute coaching session after the workshop so we can look at your specific problems. Obviously, I have general problems in the workshop, but if you have specific issues with your English, I can address them in our coaching session, in our one-to-one session. If you think, wow, this is great, I would love to have this for my company, I can come out to your company, I can come out to your place of business and do the 2-day course with you. So let me know. You can do this privately or you can do it as a group in your company. So you might have to talk to HR or someone, but let me know if you're interested. Contact me, Chrisia at lightningenglish.com. Email me and we'll talk about that. Do you have any questions about business English? If you do, go ahead and write them in the comments below and I will get to them as I see them. I would love to answer your questions. My focus is on business English. I love helping business people communicate better in English in a business situation. So yeah, if you have any questions specifically about business English, write them in the comments below and I will answer them for you either in the comments or in future lightning lessons. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I know this lesson was longer than normal, but I think these are really important. These are the common mistakes people make, and be aware that you are probably making these mistakes. But you know what? Your colleagues are also making these mistakes. So it's not a big deal. Do not let mistakes stop you from speaking. That is, if you take nothing else away from this, I want you to remember that. Your mistakes are part of your English, and it may not be a part you like, but it's an important part. You have to make mistakes because you're talking. Let it go. Understand, okay, I'm probably making mistakes. So what can I do to make it easier for the other person to say something to me if they don't understand? What can I do to create a culture in my conversation where people feel comfortable saying, did you actually mean that? Make it easy to correct your mistakes. Make it easy for people to approach you and assume that, oh, maybe she made a mistake, instead of thinking, maybe she's stupid. Obviously, we have that feeling all the time that if we make a mistake, people will think we're stupid. It's not true. But if you want to make sure that's not happening, then what you have to do is make sure that people feel comfortable assuming that you made a mistake and asking you if you need to correct it. Okay, so if you have any questions about this, please write them in the comments. We can talk about it more one-to-one if you want. You can organize a tea chat with me. And that's at lightningenglish.com/tea-chat. I will have a half-hour session with you and we can chat. And of course, you can join my in-person courses. Take care. Have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next week for the next lightning lesson. Bye-bye.